All right, guys. On this edition of the Fit Rockstar Show, we have the Deezel King. He's the owner of Deezel Muscle. He is the 3-time Mr. Arizona. He also won the North American over 35 light heavyweight class. He is Robert Farrow.
Thank you so much for that introduction. That's very nice.
You're the bomb. You're the king.
You're so nice. Every time I've met you, you've just been super nice, super cool, and it's an honor to be on here with you.
It's an honor to have you here, really, because if there's anyone who's nice and sweet and huge passion for bodybuilding and the sport in general, it's you. I mean,
thank you.
You have a very kind heart.
Thank you. Well, bodybuilding has given me so much, and this is my way to give back. You know, I want to help other people through bodybuilding.
So tell me, so you're not from the States?
Not originally. I'm from England originally. Yes.
It's not really close, is it?
Not at all. No, I moved over here the first time. I was young, 6 years old, and we stayed for a year. Moved back to England, and then moved back again at 10. And I tell you what, I changed so much from that short period of time, being in a different country, and then going back to England and thinking, America's tough. And I kind of, at the time, I think, like I was saying, I got picked on, but I don't necessarily think it was so much I was getting picked on. It was just, I had an accent. I spoke different than everyone else. So little kids would come up and say something, and I'm thinking I got a friend, and then they would run away and laugh, and it was weird and awkward. So when I moved back to England, I spent the next 3 years working on my American accent.
While you were in England?
While I was in England.
Now,
Yeah.
what did your British friends think of that?
So it was weird because my stepdad, who was American, who was in the Air Force, and that was the whole reason I'm here. I'm so thankful for him. But they didn't like me because they thought I was American. So it was really weird. It took me a little while to kind of find my place.
Now, muscle obviously wasn't your thing back then. How did you get into the whole training and stuff? And
like into the bodybuilding thing? Well, I've always liked bodybuilding. So even at a young age, the first money I ever made, I was 10 years old when we moved back to the States. And I was mowing people's yards because we lived on the Air Force Base, which was a great business, and I would make some money. And the first money I made, I went down to the BX, and I ended up buying myself a junior barbell set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when
10 years old.
At 10, that was the very first purchase I ever made.
What made you want to buy
I think I just wanted more. I just wanted to be bigger. I wanted some more muscle.
So who'd you look up to? Who did you even see?
Honestly, it was probably Tarzan.
Tarzan?
Tarzan.
The black and white Tarzan?
Well, I don't know if it was like black and white, but it was a Tarzan.
I'm thinking about the movie, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was Tarzan. I just remember that's like, if I have a choice of how I can look, I want to look like that. And then when you realize you actually do have a choice, you can control this aspect of your life. And especially in, those early, like my teenage years were kind of tough. I changed high schools quite a few times, ended up dropping out of high school. Not proud of that, but dropped out. Met a girl who was already out of high school who I had a huge crush on. I mean, it was like teenage love. It was super cool. Actually, she was the one who got me to the gym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she came over one day, and I think I had shorts on for the first time. And I remember putting my foot up on something, and she looked at me and she says, "Do you not train legs?" And I remember thinking, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. So embarrassing.
So you didn't have any legs then? Is that what you...
I didn't. I was 16.
Right.
Like, what do you want?
Well, I want to go back to the 10-year-old. So you bought this barbell set, this junior barbell set. What did the guys and people think about you if you little weights? That's cute.
Like my friends?
Yes.
So my best friend, his name was Steve Snyder. He lived 2 doors away from us. We didn't have any fences, so it was just all open.
Oh, okay.
So he'd come over and knock on my window. "Hey, Rob, you ready to go? Ready to go play?" And he saw it in the corner. I didn't want to I didn't want to tell anyone.
Right.
I just wanted to change my physique, and then one day people would be like, "Oh shit, look at you," kind of thing.
Wow.
That's kind of what my mind was thinking. And he saw it over there, and he's like, "Is that your barbell set?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, you won't keep it up." And sometimes we're motivated by what people tell us we can't do.
Right.
And I think I realized that at a young age. Like, if you tell me I couldn't do something, then
Right.
maybe I didn't want to do it as bad, but now I really want to do it. Yeah.
Did that make you mad when he said that?
No,
No.
not at
You
all.
just blew it off.
Not at all. I mean, it was just, if anything, it just motivated me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And I mean, let's face the facts. I mean, most people that start an exercise program, they just stop after a while.
Yes. Well, you see it all the time, I'm sure, with New
All the
Year's
time.
New Year's Eve resolutions.
Yeah.
That's got to be a real treat for you, right? It's all busy, and then all of a sudden, people just.
My gym's different.
It is,
It's not like, we don't get like people who just walk by and, I wonder what this is, It's not like there's a Bed Bath & Beyond next door and they're, I wonder what Deezel Muscle is. I mean,
Right.
Deezel Muscle, the joke is you could drive by my gym 10 times and not even know it's there. Exactly.
I have done it because I'm like, where's
Exactly.
this
There's no
place?
sign. There's
Right.
no anything.
Right.
So in the beginning, we were just personal training. Elena Popa was a trainer there.
Oh, wow.
Charles Poliquin.
Oh, wow.
was a
I didn't
trainer
know
there.
Charles Polkin was a trainer at your gym.
Dude, and it was and that's all it was, just personal training.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. It was electric.
Wow.
It was great. We had people coming in from all over the world.
Well, we'll get to your gym here in a minute, but going back to the 16-year-old you, we'll
Yeah.
try to fast forward. So your girlfriend tells you about your legs,
Yeah.
and you're just crushed.
Motivated.
Motivated. Okay,
Yeah.
motivated.
Yeah.
So then after that, which you have very good wheels, by the way.
I still never see them as like they're that good. You know how it is. Like I was having a conversation the other day. I'm like, here's the thing. It's almost like you have this visual of what you want to look like. Of course, it's of your height and kind of your structure, but you have like this vision that you continuously work towards, but you never quite ever reach it. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
So 16 years old, you got motivated. So when did you do your first bodybuilding competition?
When I was 22, I had really long hair. So at 16, I went to this gym called Golden's Health and Racket. It was in Mason first at McDonald. Dumbbells only went to 55. There was like a really small free weight area. On the 45s, people had written if it was 42 pounds or 49 pounds or, so it was kind
Wow.
of one of those kind of gyms. But that's all I need. Like, that's fine. I'm going to do good here. I knew I wanted to go to this hardcore gym. I knew it. Like, this is what I'm going to train for. This is going to, it's like, we get motivated by, we put a show in front of us. I'm motivated to train.
Sure.
I want to train at this like more hardcore gym, but I need to kind of earn it. And it took me 2 years.
Interesting way to put that. I have
Yeah.
to earn it.
I had to earn it. And then
I never looked at it like that.
You know what's crazy? I remember still like going to that gym and still being kind of intimidated, but that intimidation quickly just became motivation. But I was still apprehensive about wanting to buy a T-shirt. Like I wanted a cool JP's T-shirt, but I had my girlfriend go in and get it for me because I was like embarrassed to buy one. Isn't that silly?
Why were you embarrassed?
I don't know.
That's so funny.
It's so silly. Like now I look back and I'm like, what was wrong with me?
Would you, if you can tell your younger self, if you can give your younger self any advice, what would it be?
Definitely be open-minded. Like if somebody reaches out, Haney Rambon reached out to me.
The Haney Rambon?
The Haney Rambon. And we had a conversation. We had a few conversations. Now I look back, I'm like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I follow through with
So
that?
tell me, how did this happen? So obviously, when I look at your physique and your pictures and stuff, which by the way, I'm mad at you because you teased me and you teased a whole bunch of other people. I saw this post you made. I'm thinking it's 8 days out or 8 something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, holy he's getting ready
Yeah.
for a show.
Yeah, it's so
Then I
funny.
read the whole thing and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so oops. Yeah.
I'm like, wow. And then I was like, oh, okay. But anyway, so how did that happen?
So Troy Ells and I are good friends.
Oh, I love Troy, yeah.
Troy's great.
Yeah.
So my first MPC show, we competed in the same class.
Wow.
Yeah, we competed in the same class. Sometimes I get to say when I'm around, I'm like, hey, Troy, remember when I beat you?
That's,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, that was like
That's
my claim to
great.
fame. I'm like, I'm done. I beat Troy. I was like,
Right.
we didn't know how great Troy Ellis was at the time. Like, you don't
was
know
great.
how great someone is until they become great. And he was killing it. You know, he was getting like second at the USA's nationals. Like, he was like finally turned
Right.
pro. And then that was like that time when you turned pro, you were like in the money going into like the pro league. So Hani was helping Troy. Troy told Hani about me. Hani called me, and yeah. I mean,
So what did you say? You like, no, I'm not interested? Just. Was you nervous, or
basically,
maybe just?
No, I think it like I didn't have like a real clear understanding. I at first just did natural bodybuilding. I just did a natural bodybuilding contest, and I became a natural pro bodybuilder after my third competition. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready for the NPC, and I want to start doing, because that was definitely a step up. And when it came to like the anabolics, I remember my body responded so well, like it was crazy. I remember my initial cycle, which was off at the time, but I remember getting about halfway, a little over halfway, and I stopped because I would gain so much weight. It was freaking me out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I've been training natural for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, it was like, oh my God, I'm huge.
Were you constantly posing all the time? Like, just so impressed.
I probably, if no one was watching, yeah, definitely.
So now do you look back at the Hani Rambod? Do you kick yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
I mean, you
he's
see the champions
He's
he
got
had.
19 Olympia titles under his belt. I mean,
Phil Heath, Derek Lunsford, and
Jay Cutler.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bonita.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yeah, of course I do. Like, obviously he knew a lot more. You know, like back at the time, I'm like, well, hold on a second, I just started doing this stuff. Instead of paying you, why don't I just do more of this stuff?
Right.
Kind of
Right.
thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like, but I didn't, like, I don't know. Like, we didn't know.
Right. So imagine now where you would be if you would.
Yeah.
There's always those, you know.
Yeah. And then that's like that road we go down, and we make our moves. And, you know, I am today what, like, everything I've done has brought me to where I am today. And it still worked out. You know, like, I wasn't the best bodybuilder I wanted to be, but now I want to, like, keep pushing that and have like a badass gym.
Which you do
You know,
have a
where I
badass,
can
yeah.
reach more people.
When you won the North American, when was that?
That was
Or the,
2012.
2012.
That was 2012.
That's a very tough competition then.
So that was such a cool story, because in January 1 of that year, I started getting vascular procedures on my legs. I had 13 different vascular procedures. So I didn't actually start training for that show. That was, and you know, you were there at the end of August. So I started training April 15th.
Wow.
That was the longest I've ever had off.
Yeah.
But I still ate good, and I went on walks every day, and my mind was good. So once I started training again, my body responded really well.
When was so you got 3-time Mr. Arizona and then the North American. Now you have a thing for the USAs.
I think the USA is I just love that show.
Do you like?
really
Let me
do.
ask you.
I really do.
You're a big fan of bodybuilding. You've seen a
Yeah.
lot through the years. Do you like the multiple pro cards, like a second place pro card?
No, I'm not a
Yeah.
big fan of that. Just
Yeah.
because it's not quite the same. It doesn't have like the same prestige. No,
Right.
it doesn't.
So what would you like to see if I can, just ask you clearly?
I would like to see, when you go to a pro show, you see the best of the best.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
The best of the best, which is awesome. I mean, I remember going, and still to this day, going to the USAs, and you see the best of the 143. You see the best of the 154. best at 176. Now it's 165. But anyway, I just think a little bit less to make it a little bit more prestigious, you know. But and unfortunately, I think for the athlete too, because if you're not that good of an athlete and you fall into that pro ranking because maybe that show was easy that year, or you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
things
We've
can
seen
happen.
this happen, sure.
I mean, things happen. But unfortunately, because I remember this one girl, I'm not gonna say her name, but she was always upset when she wouldn't turn pro. And I remember thinking, but the problem is, as soon as you turn pro, you're not going to be in that limelight anymore. Now you're going to be with these big dogs, and you're never really going to get heard of again. I want to be where I feel competitive. Maybe that's not a great way to think, but
No,
to
it
me,
is, yeah.
like I want to be competitive. I don't want to go up against people that they look like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and Dorian Yates. It's like I'm just not at that level.
Right.
You know, and when I go to a pro show, that's what I want to see.
Absolutely. So when you went to the USAs, you go a lot, obviously, throughout the years. You went when Flex Wheeler was competing? And,
Yeah.
oh, man.
Yeah.
Who won when he was competing? Who won?
So I remember DeMeo, I think, took third. Ronnie, I could just say Ronnie, right?
Yeah.
Took fifth. Shoot.
Holy smokes.
Who was it? Man, I think if I had a few minutes to think about it, I would remember, but
Jeez,
right
that's
off the
one
top
heck
of
of a
my head.
lineup, just saying those names alone.
You know what? Kevin Larone.
Wow.
I think it was. I think. I remember Kevin Larone and Porter Cottrell both turned pro around that same year, and then they killed it, right? They went on, and between the two of them, I think they had 7 pro wins.
You actually remind me of Porter Cottrell with your physique.
Oh, thank you. That's a huge compliment.
That guy had a killer physique.
He was one of the best light heavyweights
Oh,
ever.
yeah. Yeah,
And then
you remind me of the way you're structured.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Deezel Muscle. How did that come about?
Like the whole gym?
Yeah, the whole gym.
So I've been a trainer for years, and I loved it. I was working at Gold's for 17 years, and I loved it. It was great. And then, but it got to a point where I felt like I needed something else. It started getting too busy. Gold's Gym sold to another gym, and they started putting so many people in there. I just didn't feel comfortable. And I was to a point in my career, my personal training career, where I was charging a lot of money. And I didn't feel like I was really doing them the service that they were paying for. Yeah. I felt like it's time to have my own facility. And then, man, now it's just evolved, really evolved.
How did the name come about, the Deezel?
I trained, there was 3 guys I was helping for the Arizona in, I think it was 2010. Cody, Carlos, Brandon. Brandon ended up winning the overall. Anyway, these guys all drove muscle cars. And if I wasn't training you in the gym, if I wasn't in the gym training people, I was always hanging out outside. I like being outside. I like the fresh air. And I'm waiting for these guys. And they all show up in these muscle cars. And it's like, you know, like, sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I had told them, like, hey, when you guys compete, I'm going to give you some jackets and say Farrow on them or whatever, you know. And like, hey, can we put Deezel Muscle on it? That was Cody's idea. And I'm like, I guess so. And he's like, I want to spell it like this. Oh, okay, cool. So I've changed it since. The font looks different, but that's how that came about.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's a great name.
Thank you.
It's like hardcore Deezel Muscle, you know.
You know, and the thing is, when it came to a gym, I didn't want Rob's gym or Farrow's gym. I wanted a name that everyone can get under, and I felt like Deezel Muscle. Hopefully, people can relate with that. You know, to me, it was, you just keep going. Like Deezel Muscle. And then it became, people were describing other people. I remember someone saying, hey, man, someone said I look Deezel. I'm like, really? Cool.
Right.
You know?
like that.
I'm like, all right.
You ever thought about promoting a show, putting on your own show?
I just feel like there's so many shows.
Yeah.
Don't
it's
you
watered
think?
down a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in Arizona, you know, you can always, there's never enough shows in Arizona.
Well, I don't know what's going on with Arizona shows there's,
Sure.
Miles is, I guess, stepping down.
Yeah, that
and,
guy's out.
And you guys are basically
Sure.
taking over.
Right. I think it'd be kind of cool to see you of your show. Of a show. Be
Yeah,
neat.
you put the good word
Just
in for
something
me.
just something to make you think.
I think that'd be awesome.
It would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
So let's go back to the bodybuilding world. You used to guest post a lot. I mean, you would stay in shape 365 days a year.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen you not in shape.
Yeah.
So you would guest pose, and I heard through the grapevine you proposed to your wife at your guest posing.
Yeah.
Okay, she had no idea.
Well, the thing is, my wife is really smart. So I remember when we were going, I said, hey, it'd be really cool if you were like backstage with me. She's like, why? Because you always said you should be like the 10th row in the middle. That's the best seating.
Right.
Damn it. I did say that, So, it finally worked out and she
Right.
came out. But yeah,
She already knew, like, right there.
I think she kind of had an
Or did you
idea.
made her try on rings, or did
No.
No?
But
Aw.
yeah, but she finally came out, and I proposed to her, got
You should
on
have just
one knee.
pulled her
and
out of the audience and had her come up on stage, and
that would have been better. I wish I would have thought about that.
it's all good. So tell me how you did it. I love these stories.
So I came out and I did, whatever routine it was, and then they called her on stage, and then I thanked her for her support. And
Did you
then
start crying?
I don't think I was crying. I think I might have cried if she would have said no. But
Of course.
But so I just dropped the one knee and
Oh, I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Now, what was the posing song? Do you remember when you posed to?
Gosh, I
If you don't, oh
Isn't that
my
horrible?
God, that's like a special moment.
I
You can't
know.
forget that.
I think like for the longest time, and I don't know if this is a bodybuilding thing, but I always felt like I was always more in the future than I am in the present.
Sure.
And it wasn't until I had my little boy that brought me more into the present. But so as soon as we left, I remember our conversation on the way home, but I couldn't tell you what my song was. So I had told her, hey, I'm going to be opening up a gym. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to compete anymore. But what I want to do when I turn 50 and the gym's going good, I want to treat myself and do another bodybuilding contest. Yeah.
And what did she say to that?
Awesome.
So she's all for it. She supported you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a wonderful
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
And then when you found out that you guys were having, what was that emotion running through you?
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, that was really crazy because, with my program had to change a little bit. I wasn't on my HRT anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I got off that for a long time. And we were trying, and it was our Halloween date. And I remember having the conversation with her. I just wanted to get back to kind of feeling normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's been a long time, and I was okay with that. But hey, if it doesn't happen,
Sure.
we're going to be okay, and let's just travel more. And then we're like, oh, cool, all right. And then she ended up sending me a picture like a week later, and it was one of those EPT test strips. But when you get a picture or something like that, it doesn't resonate. I
Right.
don't know what I'm looking at.
Right.
Like, were you sending me a picture of a pencil? What is this? And I'm like, oh my God. And then what was super cool, I got home and she had this little box, like a little present thing for me to open because she knows the sex, but I don't yet.
Oh, okay.
So I was able to open up, and I really wanted a boy. Really wanted a boy. I was like prepared to have a girl. I had a girl name picked out already, and I was already thinking, oh, it's okay, it'll be a girl, and you know what I mean?
Right.
But when it was a boy, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, I got 2 stepsons, and so I know how to be a boy dad.
Sure. Oh, boy, you'd be a good man. I can imagine if you had a little girl, you would be so like protective.
She'd probably be so spoiled.
Oh, yes, and that too.
Yeah.
Aw, you're such a good father. And
Oh, thank you.
And so with the new baby, let's go to when your son was born, when you seen him for the first time. What was that like?
It was amazing. It was amazing. First of all, when doctor pulled him out, he says, it's like a sack of potatoes. He was almost 10 pounds.
Oh, he's a big
And
boy.
he pulls him out, and he was like this, like Superman, and he looked from both sides. I'm like, this kid's awesome, like already. And then when they put him down, he went right into a front double bicep.
Get out
Like,
of here.
I swear to God,
Really?
he went, you know what I mean? Kind of like this. And I'm like, that's
Wow. That's my boy.
That's my boy right there.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw. So what's the schedule like with the baby now? I don't have kids, so I don't know.
It's so much. Like my day, like everything is just full constantly.
Right.
So I like to get up before he gets up. I love getting up with him, but I don't like being surprised and have him crying and I wake up out of a dead sleep. Oh man, I got to go get his bottle. I got to get him out of his bed. Mom likes to sleep. She likes to sleep a little bit. So, and I'm a morning person. I love getting up in the morning. I know you get up early too.
Yes.
So I get up. I get his bottle. I get a coffee. I drink 16 ounces of water, and I sit and I'm waiting for him basically. And as soon as I hear him start making some noise, I usually go in. A lot of times I record it. Like I'll go in and record it, just because it's like you can't get that back.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's so sweet.
he's just it's super cool.
Aw.
It's exhausting.
Right.
I'm pretty much exhausted all the time.
That's the role of the daddy.
Yeah, I mean,
Super dad.
Yeah. So I'll wake up. Well, usually she's up at like 5:30. I'm usually trying to take a shower and I usually eat my food on the way to the gym, and I get there about 7. And then I usually work to about 3, a little after, and then from that point I go pick him up, take him home, feed him, bathe him.
Let me ask you this. So with you not competing anymore, do you still eat and have that mindset of a competitor where you're like, okay, I got to eat this many times, and
Well, for me, I think, like when you were saying before, I've always stayed in good shape. I think I just feel better when I take care of myself. And I can't, just because you're not competing, you shouldn't ever lose that. You shouldn't lose yourself. You should always take care of yourself. So even though I say I'm super busy, it doesn't matter. I'm still going, I own a gym too. It makes it a little easier, right? But I get it in. I have to. It's part of who I am.
How long do you train for when you go train?
Usually an hour, hour, 15 minutes.
What do you think of people who say, oh, I train for 2 hours? Do you think that's too much?
Well, it depends on what their goals are, I suppose.
You're just training just to train.
I think if you just like being there and you're hanging out with people, but I don't think it's probably the most conducive thing you could, and definitely not for growth, right?
Is your son going to be a little bodybuilder? Are we going to see him?
I don't know.
Is that something you would
I
like?
don't know. Well, I took his measurements at a year.
I love it.
Seriously. And he's got, because you know what I noticed? Like calves. It seems like there's such a genetic thing. And his mom's got great calves and real good legs. And his calves are 8 inches right now at 1 year old.
Wow.
And his arms are 6.5 inches.
I notice he's stacked.
He's pretty solid.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. And I go into his daycare, and he takes this thing that the little kids like to lay on, and he'll take it and pick it up and put it up in there and like put it like this. And
He's like a Bam Bam.
like a Bam Bam.
Yeah.
And the lady there was saying, she's like, I'm not sure why Bo likes to do that, but he likes picking things up. He likes picking things up, putting them down all the time. I'm like, what do you mean? What's wrong with that?
It's bodybuilding, baby.
Yeah. What's wrong with the rest of these kids?
Yeah, they need to start lifting and doing
Exactly,
stuff. Aw,
exactly.
What a sweetheart.
He is a sweetheart.
Tell me more about your gym. So with your gym, it's 24/7?
It is. Yeah.
And you have special, I remember we talked about this, you have special rules of your gym?
I do.
Yeah, and there's one that what is it, about the respect of other people? And
Number one is be respectful to others. You know, to me, bodybuilding's never been like this big ego. I don't have to be mad. I don't have to listen to like music that gets me in a bad mood. To me, especially as a kid, that was as close as I got to meditation, where I could just focus on one thing, and it was thoroughly enjoying all the time. So yeah, just be respectful. It needs to be a happy place. So that's number one. Yeah, be respectful.
so if I have a pissed off face while I'm training, I need
That's
to be
fine.
happy.
That's fine.
I'm just giving you,
You
I'm
know,
giving you a hard time.
You know what's funny? Because I actually have conversations with people sometimes, like, you know, and it's weird that you have to have these conversations, but you want your gym to run smoothly, and you would rather have this maybe slightly uncomfortable conversation with this particular person, so it's not weird when they're out there. Like, hey, if you talk to a girl and she gives you a one-word answer, and then you say something again, then you say something again, and she's just one word, like, maybe just walk away.
Right.
Remember, we're here to train.
Right.
We don't have TVs here. You know what I mean? We're here to train. So come in, train, and go home.
Now, you meet every single member of your gym, right?
I try to. Now that I only work till 3, my nephew works there now. So he takes over from 3 to 8, and he's been great.
Okay, cool. But
Yeah, he actually was in a guest posing skit with me when he was a kid.
oh, wow. Oh, what
Yeah.
happened here? What did you have him do?
He played me as a little kid.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so he was actually in the bed or sitting on the end of the bed reading a bodybuilding magazine, right? And he's wearing these pajamas, and he was a little kid. Now he's like a foot taller than me. But he's this little kid, and he was reading this bodybuilding magazine, and you hear my mom's voice, right? My mom's voice is being played through the auditorium. My mom was English. So, Robbie, make sure you put that magazine away and get some sleep so you could be a big like those bodybuilders, you know. So then it goes black, and then he rolls out, I roll in, and then you hear the rooster, and I get up, like, you know, it was like a little kid.
Oh, that's a cool bodybuilding routine.
Thought it was pretty
I don't
cool.
think I've ever heard anything like that. Did you actually have like a bed out on stage?
It was
or
a cot
something?
and a
That's
mirror,
genius.
and a mirror.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa, check me out. You know,
That's a really
it
good.
was pretty. That was pretty neat.
I bet the crowd went crazy.
I would like to think so. Yeah.
Did you ever go into the audience and do posing?
No. Like now, I'm like, since you said that about when I proposed to my wife, like that would have been so cool.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that.
Well, I
but-
didn't mean to say it like, you know, hey, you should.
No, but that
just
would have been so cool.
The art of surprise, because women are smart.
Yeah.
They catch on this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long you guys been married?
We got married in 2014.
Together total.
Together total, I think our first date was like January 2010.
How did you meet this wonderful angel
At the gym, of course.
at the gym? Was she squatting?
You know what? What impressed me about her, because she was always in there like training with a couple other people. And then like I noticed her. Like I just noticed her. I noticed her physique and the way she carried herself. And I was just attracted to it. But she was later on coming in and training by herself first thing in the morning, like at 5 a.m. And now I'm like, oh wow, this girl's got some dedication. I mean, it takes a special person to get, like, it's like those are the type of people I want to be around. But yeah, she could shut me down like a few times. It was actually like the beginning was kind of rough for me.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I
Aw.
know.
And you didn't give up.
I know, I did it.
Oh, so then how did it finally get the green light? What happened there?
She actually asked me out.
She asked
She
you out.
finally asked me out. Yeah. Yeah.
How weird is that's just funny how that works. It's just she turned you down, and all of a sudden she asked you out.
Well, we just started having some conversations, and at this point now I'm thinking, you're not really into me, but you know, we're kind of like on a friend thing. And then she would ask me a question through a text message, and I would give her something simple, like, because she started competing, and I think that was like one of the first things I said, because this is like when bikini. I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about doing bikini contests? You know, she's 5'10", and she's got like,
Oh, wow.
she looked like a bikini type physique, you know? She's like, no, and then she wanted to know more about it. And I think I sent her over something like just bodybuilding.com, like something super simple, but what do you want? You know what I mean? And then she ended up calling me and asking me about some place I went for New Year's, which was just a little earlier than that, and then our first date. And then I told her, I'm like, oh, when you go up, why don't you go talk to so-and-so? And like, I'm trying to be like a cool friend,
Sure.
you know? And then she asked me if I wanted to go with her. She's like, oh, and she called me back. Do you want to go? I'm like, no, like, I don't want to go like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like a pity thing. Like I didn't like help you out so you would ask me out. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, but you know, I'd like to go out with you sometime. She's like, well, how about tomorrow? All right. Cool.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the start of
That was the start.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet. So, let me ask you this, going back to your gym. What is your goals now? I mean, you're a successful business owner. What do you plan on doing with the gym? Anything else?
Yeah. So now the gym, originally, when I moved into this facility, it had a kitchen in there and it had like these other rooms in there. But the space at the time was actually bigger than what I was really needing. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. I just left it there. Now I'm to the point where all of it's going to get ripped out, and I'm taking my office and I'm going to make a couple offices out of it. The lobby that used to be really big now is kind of smaller, but the gym I'm going to have more equipment.
Nice. Well, that's always good.
Yeah.
You can never have enough equipment.
Well, and it's been great because now I could see, okay, you get this many people in here and I could see what's getting used. I'm like, okay, I'm going to need another one of those, another one of these. And then we make the room and we get these pieces of equipment, which is, yeah, it's been pretty neat.
If you don't have one yet, just as a fan of this piece of equipment, the Pendleton squat,
Yeah.
is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are cool.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
I want one for myself.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Is that what it's going to take for you to come by the
No,
gym?
I'll come tonight, but I'm just saying in
Awesome.
general, like I want one in my house so I can just train.
Those are cool.
They are cool. You can get
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's easy.
I remember you and I having that conversation about like the standing lateral machine.
Yeah, that's
You
too.
know, that's something
yes.
I would like.
That's a nice
Yeah, both of
piece.
those pieces are good.
So you do you give back to the community a lot. I mean, a lot. And so you also do Special Olympics stuff. What is your role? What do you do?
I'm the head judge for the Arizona powerlifting.
Wow. And how did you get into that?
Well, my niece passed away. Actually, she passed away, and her funeral was on 4/4. That was our original date for Jess and I to get married.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And we ended up getting married the next month. But before that, my niece Gracie, she had special needs. We didn't know exactly what it was. We thought maybe Angelman syndrome, or we didn't really know. We found out maybe a few weeks before she passed, she had a rare form of muscular dystrophy, one that you wouldn't read about in a textbook. But I think because of Gracie, that's what propelled me to do more. And I remember there was a guy I met that his name was Ken, and he was involved. I'm like, I want to get involved. I want to do this. And man, it's been years now that I'm the head judge. And
Do you feel that
it's really
more
cool.
people in the sport or industry should do more things to help the community and be more out there?
I think if that's where they're at in their life, I think, I remember bodybuilding. Bodybuilding really, I felt like it saved me. I felt, you had a guest on once, and Autumn,
Yes, out in
and
Cleveland.
she was saying that when she first competed, she felt like that's when she felt like she actually belonged to something. I felt the same way. Like I was kind of like I didn't really know. And then once I competed and I did good, I'm like, I found something, So in the beginning, it was if I just had a roof over my head and I had food and I had a gym, I was happy. And when you don't have much, it's hard to give much, right? Because usually, you have to work more. It takes more hours. You got to do this. But I do think the more that is given to you, the more that you should give back. And I think it just kind of goes back and forth.
So, did you ever think about going into judging or anything like that? Is that
Yeah,
a
I
question
was.
mark?
I was
You
an
was a
NPC judge
Oh, wow.
for about 5 years.
Too much for.
No, and you know what? No one complained except for one of the other judges. I'm very honest.
Painfully honest. I'm kidding.
I'm very honest, and you know, at the end of the day, it's the physique. Like we're just
Yes,
judging your physique,
right.
You know, I'm not saying that you're not a better person, or you know, it's just a physique. But one of the other judges complained because back then my girl just won the overall, and I think another one of my people did good, even though I would like actually walk and walk over here and have an alternate judge fill in for me.
Sure.
But just the perception, and I remember having this talk, I'm like, I get it. It's the perception, right? Because if people think, well, you know why you didn't win is because the person who won, his coach was one of the judges. And even though that's not true,
Right.
but sometimes somebody will say that to someone to make them feel better. You know how it is.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like in bodybuilding, it's like you really shouldn't come up with this definite conclusion that you should have won based on what your mom and dad told you.
We see this all the time. Or your girlfriend or boyfriend
Like,
or your
what do
friends.
you think they're going
Right.
to tell you?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. I think you got to wait until you get the video and wait until you get stuff and be objective.
So speaking of parents and stuff, what does mama think about you competing and everything?
But me competing, or like when I was
Or when
competing,
you was competing?
I remember like she helped me kind of think about other stuff besides just bodybuilding. Because so I remember like hanging out in the jacuzzi, and it seemed like I'm talking about whatever song I'm doing and what I'm doing in my bodybuilding, and it was just like I was just so like everything was just bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And I think she's like, don't you talk about anything else? And I'm like, yeah, I need to like broaden my horizons and talk about some other stuff. But it was like the first time I wasn't with, like, she was into the gym, but she wasn't like really, like she competed a little bit.
Oh,
but
wow.
she she did four contests.
What did she compete in? Bodybuilding? or-
No, she was bikini.
Wow. Mom was, wow,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
How sweet.
Yeah.
Aw, I didn't know that.
I mean, that's great, right? Now she's able to better understand what I would go through, but,
Right.
but I enjoy it.
Right.
I enjoy the whole process, but I'm different. I can kind of seclude myself, right? I'm good with staying in a cave for 40 days and 40 nights.
Me
and,
too.
Like, I kind of like that. I like that aspect of it.
So let me ask you this with the competing nowadays. When you see people go online and think about it as a judge and they complain where they have like the worst picture of the other athlete and then they have theirs, oh, I got robbed. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts when you see stuff like that?
It's going to be hard for you to become better unless you could be objective with what it is you're looking at. And you shouldn't be doing this just to have a bunch of people tell you how great you are. Like, if you're doing this, it's because you're consciously trying to make your best physique. You're going to have your best physique. And I remember the 99 Mr. Arizona contest. Rusty Jeffers won the overall.
Oh, wow.
And I won the middleweights. And I think it was fairly close. I think it was like 3 votes to 4. But I look at it and go, he should win. He definitely should win. You know, like, you need to be able to step back and objectively look at what you got, so that way you know how to go about like your training and you know, prioritizing certain
Sure.
body parts and make changes and look better. Like, you have to be able to objectively go, okay, yeah, I could see why I lost. Like, I did the Masters Nationals in 2019, you know, 3 years ago, and there was 24 guys in my class, and I got beat by one guy who ended up winning the overall. But I could see why he beat me, and I'm good with it. I mean, it's okay.
What do you think of the conditioning now on the pro level, like men's bodybuilding?
Well, I was at that Indianapolis pro show, and like the top guys look phenomenal. They look great.
What do you feel is needed to bring more of the outside public into the bodybuilding scene?
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like our sport is more popular than it's ever been.
You do. What makes you?
I think so.
What makes you think that? I'm just curious.
It seems like and maybe it's because this is what I see when I get on Instagram. I see everyone like posting pictures of themselves, and you see a lot more bodybuilding competitions throughout the year as opposed to what we had before. So it does seem like more people are into it.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked that is because, in my opinion, I go to all the shows.
Yeah.
I feel the quality of some of the competitors' conditioning is just a little bit not as what we're used to, like in the 90s, early 2000s, that really, boom.
Yeah.
There are some who are really good, but then there are some who just don't have that. There's they're not well put together, so I don't know if I don't know if that's a training thing, a dieting thing, and it goes back to the bellies and, the physique, anyway.
Well, like we see it all the time. You see guys that look great in the gym. It doesn't necessarily translate into being the best looking guy on stage. Back, like in the beginning, I always say back when I started, like, I remember like getting the magazines in the late 80s, and I remember the guys that were competing when I was a teenager, they would all wear like sweats, and like you could tell they're getting smaller, but man, you'd see them on stage and like, oh my God, you look great, you're just shredded. But they would stay covered up and just focus on just looking super crisp and having these deep lines, where I feel like you have to be objective. And if you didn't win because you didn't have deep lines, go back and focus on that. Like maybe get off so much of the gear that these guys are doing. Focus on really bringing those lines out. I
agree. So with the Olympia this year, who do you think is going to win? We probably have Derek Lunsford coming out into the open. Of course, we have Rami, who's going to try to get this 3 times.
So I was there when Derek won the USAs. And, again, I love the USAs. But, dude, he was a freak back then.
Like, look at him now.
Well, yeah, he's like 255 or something. Like, he's giant. But I remember seeing, like, his shoulder to waist ratio, especially when he turned around and walked away. Like, he annihilated those guys. Like, you knew when you watched this guy, like, this guy's going to be the next 212 Olympia guy. And sure enough, he's right there.
He was. Do you have a prediction for the Olympia? Who's going to win?
I don't.
Are you going to be going? Yes.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope you will too.
Yeah.
What is your biggest gym peeves? Do you have any?
Probably like just the big ego stuff.
So re-racking weights?
I don't, you know what? I think like for some reason when it comes to like the bench press, I don't know why it's got to take you got to take 3 to 5 minutes between each set. It's like just train it like you would any other exercise.
Right.
Like why are you trying to go so heavy? And it's so that thing, like let's see how strong I think we all kind of fall prey to that. But I think knowing what we know from that, and it didn't really do much except maybe feed our ego. But as far as becoming a better bodybuilder, I don't think that was very conducive. So that would probably be a pet peeve, like just doing things that it's not necessarily making you actually look better.
Like screaming in the middle of your set?
That's weird. That's weird. I know. There was a guy, I remember I was working at Powerhouse Gym, and he was kind of a new guy, and he laid down, and he was benching, and every time he would do a rep, he would go, rah, like that, rah. So the next set he did, he laid down, and every time he'd go, rah, I'd say, rah.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd go, rah, rah. And then he'd get up and kind of look around, but he doesn't know what's going on. And then he went down for his next set, and this time it was like, hurrah, like, rah. So when I would say, rah, and then someone else, rah, and then, rah, and then like all over the place, to where he was like, okay, I probably do just kind of seem silly right now.
Right.
So I don't think he ever came back.
That. That's funny. That's something that I would do.
I think you got to. Like, you got to, like kind of let them know, like, that's how silly this is.
I Febrezed somebody one time in the gym.
Wow. Because they didn't smell very good.
They did not. Because every day I was coming in doing squat thing, their smell was so bad, it was embedded in the barbell.
Ugh.
So I pulled out some Febreze and I sprayed them too. and they got mad at me. But that was in my younger 20s.
Yeah.
And that's so rude of me, but I couldn't train. It was stinky.
Yeah.
So,
I remember
anyway.
training somebody, and I think he was actually benching. I'm like, hey, man, you want some gum?
Oh.
You know, do I need it? Yeah. There you
At
go.
least she wasn't lying, right?
But you know what? I mean, if your trainer can't be honest with you, who can't?
So the next time you say, Isabel, you want some gum?
Yeah. Exactly.
I'll be like,
just take it.
Just take it.
Just
Don't
take
even
it.
ask
Don't
questions.
even ask.
Okay, I remember that. We don't have much longer time because I know you got a busy schedule. So, is there anything you want to say, motivational wise, to your fans, your members, your family? Anything you want to say? Just-
Okay. I would say stay true to who you are and believe in yourself. And it's never too late. It's never too late to get going and get started. And, you know, bodybuilding is just such a great way of life. It's a lifestyle. So you don't, if you get into the bodybuilding, you don't think you necessarily have to even compete if you don't want. But just doing the lifestyle and eating a proper way and taking care of yourself, you can't let yourself go. And if for some reason bodybuilding isn't your thing, find something that is. Like, take care of yourself. Give yourself an hour a day. I have a super busy schedule, and then there's no way I can keep my demeanor and stay calm and cool if I didn't have an hour to myself where I could just train. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say. You know, take care of yourself.
How do we find you? How do we get in touch with your gym and all that stuff?
Deezel Muscle.
Instagram, website,
Instagram, Facebook, website.
swag. How do we get the swag, the Deezel swag?
Yeah, come on in or send me a message, and I'll send you guys some.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Mr. Farrow, King Deezel Muscle.
Oh, thank you.
It was such an honor having you here on the Fit Rockstar show. Real pleasure, and I can't wait till next time.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been
You're
a real
welcome.
honor. It's a dream come true to be on your show with you. So, thank you. I
not
think
even
you're awesome.
Thank you so much.
You
Well,
really
I
are.
think
So
you're
keep
awesome
doing
too.
what you're doing because you're reaching a lot of people, and I watched a lot of your shows. So yeah, it's been an honor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'm very flattered. All right, guys. Till next time, Fit Rockstar is signing off.